Hi, I'm Harry Bolman and welcome to the Vegan Hour. Ahimsa, namaste, all that stuff. Welcome. You're here at the Vegan Hour 2017 birthday special. This has been going for 2 years and it's celebrating Harry's birthday on Wednesday. I'd like to thank Vegan Frothers and the Burleigh Town Storage for their sponsorship. But look, in all honesty, my name's really Lee Chantel and I run the website vivalavegan.net. I'm also the president of the Vegetarian Vegan Society of Queensland. And today's guest, I'm privileged to be asked to interview Harry Bolman, and he's been vegan for 37 years and he's run the Vegan Hour for over 2 years where he's interviewed many people, including myself. And I'd like to welcome Harry Bolman to come and join me and be interviewed tonight for the birthday special.
Yay! What an introduction! That was wonderful. Thank you, Elsie.
No problem.
Am I the guest?
You're the guest today.
I'm the guest.
Did people get that?
Did anyone
Did
anyone get that?
I reckon people might have thought that you were going to be interviewed.
They might have had an inkling. Who had an inkling that I was going to be interviewed? Somebody please say something.
Or maybe people thought you were just going to interview yourself because you do some crazy things.
I do some crazy wacky stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm taking that hot hat off. It's too hot.
You were meant to throw it across the room, but anyway, that's fine.
So it's your show tonight, Elsie.
Yeah. So welcome to the Vegan Hour, and let's start. 37 years as a vegan. That seems like a long time.
I think it's more.
Oh, it's my age. I'm 37.
That's right. So that means your whole life, I've been vegan.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go. And I was.
Christine worked it out.
Ah,
she worked it
Christine.
out. Yeah. Good on you, Christine.
You get a gold star.
you get yeah, she dropped some hints that it might have been me. Yeah.
And so 37 years. I've been vegan 20 years myself, and that seems like a long time.
That's rather impressive.
And yours is almost 2 times mine. Almost.
It is, isn't it? In fact, last year, was it around this time you interviewed me, like not on a live stream, but you interviewed me for my 36th year of being vegan.
Yeah, when I was still on the coast house.
Yeah, and which was went on YouTube, and it was actually quite well received. Like it had quite a few views and that.
Yeah, they're on the vivalavegan.net YouTube channel if you want to check that out.
So, Sonia says it won't play. Oh, well, actually, you've got to read the comments tonight because I'm just a guest.
What won't play?
She's having trouble.
Can people hear us and understand what we're saying?
Yes, because Christine.
So, what does "won't play" mean? Can you be more specific?
Just means her internet is not fast enough to receive it, to know what's going on, sort of thing.
I hope, Sonia, that you can refresh and you can see us very soon.
I hope you become refreshed, Sonia. This is the first...
And so we might have some of Harry's gags throughout the night. Brace yourselves for that.
Apologies in advance. Elsie is used to it. She's very tolerant of that.
So I want to talk about 37 years vegan then.
Okay, cool.
You would have noticed a lot of changes. Can you talk about some?
Yeah, I got older.
Happens to the best of us.
It does happen. No, you've just gotten younger. I mean, look at you. But it does happen to the. But okay, so Christine's. It's just. She said Christine now has said hers isn't playing, but Jared's is. So it depends on the mobile or the computer that they're watching the show on. I'm used to that.
And we'll put this on YouTube later as well if you can't see it live.
That's true. You're a good host. Wow.
I've had practice.
And Sonia's just connected. It's good to be connected.
Good.
Okay, so your first question is the changes I've noticed in 37 years. That's a good question because the changes aren't linear, if that's the right thing for me, because there are also changes with what's happened with me personally, just in my own personal growth. So the two are connected. But if we're just talking about what I've seen with vegan awareness, I mean, I'm just stoked at the way that. Lorna says, but you feel young at heart. You've got to read the comments. Sorry.
Lorna, yes. I'm sure he does.
Yes, I feel young at heart, yeah. But the changes are fantastic because it seems to me that we're getting closer and closer to a vegan world, which I used to say a vegan world by 2020 was the thing they used to, and you would remember that used to be.
Said that.
Yeah, and that was a few years ago. That used to be quite popular. They used to say that. but we seem to be getting closer and closer to it because
well, the awareness is good. I'd probably disagree with
vegan
world by 2020.
Well, oh yeah, no, I know.
Or even in our lifetime, to be honest.
Yeah,
but, it's a good aim.
The awareness is definitely massively increased. I just want to mention that today, or was it yesterday? Either yesterday or today, I found out that another vegetarian cafe at Tweed Heads is going 100% vegan from tomorrow.
Awesome.
So Sozo Cafe, a big shout out to you guys. That's fantastic that you did take the leap to be cruelty free, which is fantastic. And also in the same street where there's Raw Authentic and there's Sozo, which is going to be vegan. At the end of next week, there's our first vegan supermarket on the Gold Coast opening up.
Oh wow!
All in Stewart Street.
What's the name of that one?
Vegan Aisle. Vegan Aisle,
yeah, that's great.
Which is that's going to be like a vegan hub there. Suddenly,
well, I think the Gold Coast is pretty awesome for vegan stuff. Anyway,
fantastic.
to be honest,
It's fantastic. I was mentioning to you before we went live stream that Sarah Bar in Burleigh has gone from vegetarian to vegan a couple of months ago. And because you're Brisbane based, you weren't aware of that.
And you've been away for 4 months.
Well, that's true. You've been overseas.
I feel like I've been in a bit of a time warp.
It seems so long since I've seen you.
Yeah.
But yes.
So definitely, I would say that awareness and more vegan businesses, restaurants, places like that have grown, and I'd probably link that to 2010, which was around the time that Instagram came online, and a lot more people shared more visually appealing vegan things.
Yes.
And I think that's when I really noticed it, and when videos became a bit more popular.
So you think that a lot of interest was because of the fact people were seeing vegan food and going, wow, this looks good.
Yeah, and
that's
more,
a good point.
You know, because a lot of people talk about the why, like why we're vegan. A lot of people concentrate a lot on that. But I've found, and a lot of people say there's been a lot of studies about if you focus more on the how, it's more important. So you're showing, oh wow, that's an awesome smoothie, or I love that lasagna that's vegan. I could make that, or I could eat that. And people are saying, oh, it's a bit easier than I thought.
Yeah.
And a restaurant, I can go to a restaurant. I can go to a bar, or whatever you said, the bar, the shop. It makes it more accessible to people.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh,
so that's awesome.
Tell you what, you're the best host I've ever had on this show.
Hang
on, you're the only host I've ever had on this show. You're taking over already.
And so, you down the Gold Coast, it's being in a vegan mecca. It does feel as though there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of awareness, and that's your proof, really, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? I mean, what I'm seeing, it's good to see because I've known behind the scenes of a few different places that have been intending to go vegan, and I haven't been able to say anything because it's in confidence, but it's actually been good to see it happening. Sozo was one of them. This one is not particularly private anymore, but so I can mention that the second greenhouse opens on the 14th of October, so that's coming up in only a couple of weeks' time. So that opens in Coolangatta. They're 100% vegan, yes, but the fact that they're franchised and they're opening up another one is just another place. It's like, wow, fantastic. So the coast is going ahead leaps and bounds. Brisbane has now been hit, since you've been away, it's now been hit with a couple of full vegan places that have opened up.
Awesome.
Whose names currently escape me, and the Sunshine.
Yeah, if anyone knows the name, let us know.
There's one in West End called Grown.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
That's just opened this week, and then on the Sunshine Coast there's another one called Bloom, which opened maybe a couple of weeks ago, 100% vegan as well. So it's not just the Gold Coast, obviously. You know, Lord of the Fries, I've just found out today, is going 100% vegan. Some of their stores are transitioning over now. It just goes on and on.
And they're coming to the Gold Coast soon.
They were due to open this month that's ended today. They were due to open in September in Surface. The last photo I saw, the construction work was still going on or something. So it's happening sometime.
That's good. And so what's your advice for people that maybe, it's a bit hard, some people see that being vegan or starting to become vegan is quite hard. What advice would you give people at the beginning if they want to be vegan, or even just try to be vegan?
That's a really good question, because I think, I've said this before, in 2017 we're in such a fortunate position with the social media and with all the information there, that the best advice I can give is one word: Google.
Yeah, really?
Well, I mean, it's just if you're genuinely wanting to make the change to a cruelty-free, compassionate lifestyle, any question you've got relating to it, if you put it in Google, will come up straight away with, just all the answers from the recipes, from simple to complex recipes, the statistics of the changes that are happening in the world with animal agriculture, and the documentaries. You can just type in vegan documentaries, you'll get a long list of them.
So many now.
It's just so fortunate for people to be able to do this now. So yeah, that's right. So Google is there. I could rattle off names of, I could say, go to nutritionfacts.org or go to the Vegan Easy Challenge or something like that. But it's just as easy to say, just to remember one thing, just remember Google.
Yep.
And
whatever you like, whatever your favourite dish is, I'm sure there's a vegan version of that.
And the fantastic thing is, it's not hard to source the ingredients now, because the supermarkets have embraced the change, and the fact that there is a growing customer base of either vegans or, and I'm going to make the distinction here, vegans or plant-based people, and the distinction being that somebody may be on a plant-based diet but haven't transitioned to a vegan lifestyle, which means they may still have use of animal products in their life, but they've changed their diet to remove
and maybe not aware of the ethical reasons.
Exactly, which is why
food,
you've said it better than I could. So they're not aware of the ethical side of it. So they're still having animal involvement in animal use or exploitation, maybe inadvertently, but it's still maybe in their life there.
And maybe they're not aware of that too, because I know when I went vegan, I remember I was working in a music store, and the person I was working with, he said, "Oh, what about your soap?" I'm like, what about my soap? Like, I had no idea.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
And this is 20 odd years ago, we didn't have Google then, by the way.
That's right. This is exactly. We didn't.
No, we didn't, and it was very bizarre to, like, people didn't even know how to say the word vegan. Some people even know how to say quinoa now. And
still working on the correct pronunciation of acai.
Acai.
You see, I get in last week.
Really.
You know what? You're one of the very few people that I would ever question, because you're so knowledgeable that I know that you would know it's right. And yet last week I debated with Shane that I said it was acai, and he was saying it's acai.
Okay.
And I've seen both variations. So
well, you just read how the packet tells you to do it. A lot of the brands actually have the pronunciation on it.
Yes.
So it's probably a good start.
Yes.
Yeah.
As if they would know. They're only the manufacturers. I mean, fair go.
And what about for people that maybe are already vegan? And because there's a big problem with keeping vegans around. There's a lot of people that might be vegan for a certain amount of time, or maybe just be plant-based and not make the transition to ethical stuff. Do you have any advice of maybe how to get people to care about more ethical stuff?
Again, that's a really good question, because I think of a couple of things when you mention that, because you can be vegan and not be particularly healthy, for starters, because I mean, an unfortunate side effect of the growing amount of vegan food on the market is that a lot of it is processed, and it's very tempting. These are things that both you and I know, because you've been vegan for so long as well, that we see this stuff and we're just like, oh wow, this is what we wanted decades ago and we couldn't get it. We've talked about this before, and the convenience of having all these treats and that around now is a little bit too much, So one of the things that I've seen that can be a little bit off-putting for somebody that's already adopted a vegan lifestyle is they actually may find it a little bit challenging that they're not as healthy as they thought they would be. In which case you then have to say, okay, I need to concentrate on the whole foods based diet part of the vegan lifestyle, and I need to keep my eye on not getting tempted too much by the vegan treats. And I'm number one culprit for that, because I love going to these vegan markets and just going, oh yes, oh yeah,
donuts.
I'll have
I'll have
three of
cake.
that. It's like this is what we wanted. This is vegan heaven. It's just like, oh man, and you got to remember, when you've been vegan for decades, it was like one health food store. It used to be, and you know this, it was one health food store in your area that you'd go to, and you'd go through and go, I can have that.
Dark chocolate.
Whoa,
Carob chocolate.
I can have that. There wasn't the word vegan on anything. There was. It was just, it was so. You didn't go into the supermarket and find anything. It was just. And nowadays, guys, people are so fortunate nowadays.
Yeah.
But also, there's other things that are challenges, because your question was, challenges for people that are already vegan. And there are other things that I've noticed as challenges that, unfortunately, and it's a little bit of can be a little bit of a tricky subject, but unfortunately there can be infighting, or whatever you want to call it, within the vegan community. This is not necessarily a vegan thing. This happens with any group.
Yeah, every minority
every
group, yeah.
Well, even not, it doesn't even have to be minority. Whenever it's a human condition. Whenever you get a group of people together, a small group may survive nicely, and then as the group expands, there will be personality conflicts. People will want to do it their way, and people will want to do it not necessarily. One person's way is better or worse than the other person's, but there may be a clash because it's a different way of doing things. So I see that. I read comments on the different forums of people vegans being off-put by that, and I can understand that. And my advice is just simply to focus on the animals. Go back to the whole reason why. Try to step away take some time out from the infighting if that's what's happening. Don't read the comments if it's upsetting, when you're reading comments of people, one vegan having a go at another, and go back to the whole thing of, why are you vegan? I mean, I'm not saying why you on a plant-based diet. I'm saying, why are you vegan? For the animals. I like to remember 4 words. I'm against animal cruelty. And so if we just keep that mantra, it's like, okay, that's the reason. So I have to keep doing this. It's important that I keep doing it. That's what we, need to remember. So yeah, for people that do get bummed out, and people get bummed out by it. Now, this is, I want to keep going on this, because I think there's a lot of elements to this question. Another thing is, people get burnt out by the animal cruelty, by the images, by the cases that they read about, and I completely understand. It's it can be very upsetting, as you know. It can be, and I've seen personal cases of it, of people becoming just greatly distressed by it and really having difficulty handling it. My advice is that you have to, what I'm going to say is, for me personally, what works is having a spiritual foundation, having a depth below all this insanity when we're finding out what's happening to the animals, and we're seeing images of things that are happening around the world, and we're just going, man, how can the world be this bad? We have to be able to step away from that and have a spiritual, this is what I believe, this is what works for me, a spiritual foundation where I can just go, okay, there's some deeper truth and understanding that I can find in my spiritual path here that helps me to understand why there's so much evil happening to the animals, why there's so much madness happening in the world, and it gives me some hope and something to take shelter in, basically.
What would it be?
What would what be?
From a spiritual perspective, what's the reason?
Well, I can approach it from several different angles.
Yeah.
We can approach it from a karmic angle, for instance. If to say it briefly, basically, karma is like gravity. It exists whether you believe in it or not, right? Now, a lot of people say, I don't believe in karma, and I like to say, because I want to set the foundation here for karma, and I like to say, well, it's not belief centered. It's a scientific law of cause and effect. It exists whether you want to believe it or not. Science has proven it. So that's karma. That's just setting the foundation for karma. Karma is every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and what you sow, so shall you reap. So it's known in many different spiritual understandings, and also in religions such as Christianity and that. So the thing is, we have a responsibility. So the responsibility is, if we've done something, there's a price to pay. So if we do something good, well, there's a good price to pay. If we've done something bad, there's a bad price to pay. What we have to understand is if somebody is treating an animal or another person or whatever badly, it will come back on them. There is no escaping that. Otherwise, we would not live in a system of, we would not live in a universe that has justice.
Yeah.
It would not make any sense. It would be just complete madness. So the thing is, we may not see in our lifetime this coming back on that person, right? So if my spiritual understanding is that we reincarnate. If we've been in a situation where we've accrued some bad karma, we can reincarnate and we have a debt to pay. It's not a punishment as such, it's just that we made a conscious choice to act a certain way, and then we have to pay for it. It's the way it works. I don't set the rules. It's my understanding of how it works. And when I look at the way things are, I go, okay, I can understand why some things are happening which aren't particularly nice. I can understand that it's not happening just because, say, there's a God in the sky going, I don't like you, I'm going to punish you. It's happening because there is a law of responsibility, which I could explain it another way also. Society has to have, on a material level, has to have rules and regulations, and has to have the police controlling, and you know what I mean. There has to be.
Has to be some sort of order. Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Order is the word. Thank you. There has to be some sort of order to society. Karma is universal order. That's how I would describe it. It's universal order. So I can see you're not, and that's all right. You don't have to agree.
I'd like to ask some questions about
please,
this because when I was in
Yeah.
Amsterdam just recently in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
staying with my friend Mikhail, we were at a vegan bar having dinner with some of his other vegan friends, and we were having awesome discussions and debates about a variety of things, and one of them was karma. Because someone believed in karma, similar to your sort of beliefs, whereas a couple of us were having a discussion about how something that's meant to be from a past life. So he was saying, and we were talking from the spiritual aspect, which you are too, from like a religious spiritual aspect, which says karma is from the past. So I think one of my Chinese friends told me once, my karma is from my grandmother. And I said, well, how do I organise that? And how do I sort that out? Hi, Serena. And she said, oh, you have to sort that out with your grandma. And I'm like, well, my grandma's passed, so what do I do then? And also, like, and I'm not meaning to be frivolous or discounting your beliefs in any way. But I don't understand how something that's based on your past life can run through and tell you that this is your karma. And we were sort of talking about, people that live under the poverty line, that horrible things happen to a lot of people in this world. We're very fortunate, but a lot of people aren't. So how's that karma
work? Well, actually, karma helps explain that.
But see, to me, I can't understand that because...
we have to, in order to understand how karma works, we have to understand that we don't just have one life. Otherwise, it would not be a very fair system. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be like, well, why was that child born in such a horrible condition? Where's the fairness? This is why a lot of people become atheists. I mean, seeing as we're talking about the spiritual side, then we've gone off the vegan side a bit. But this is why, because they go, oh, well, God, there can't be a God because he allowed this. It's like, well, hang on a second, Let's step back a little bit and have a look at a bigger picture. You're only looking at a time scale. When you're on the planet in a certain time of maybe 80 years or something. Phoebe's made a comment there if you want to read it, if it's relevant, or leave it for later.
So every action, good or bad, is accumulating karma. We work off accumulated karma seeds from the past and the present.
Yes,
okay,
from the present. I was going to mention that as well, but Phoebe's brought that in, so that's good.
Yeah.
So we're only looking at a very limited time scale. And let's expand it, because we know history has gone for at least thousands or more years, of recorded history, right? So let's expand it a bit and go, okay, are we... I'm going to use the word, are we that selfish that we think that it's just the time that we're on this planet that is relevant? So rather than that, do you want to control that, or?
Sorry.
You're the boss.
You know it.
Oh, I know it. I'd never argue with you. So we have to step back and go, the spiritual teachings say that we are, if I want to explain reincarnation, we actually reincarnate in our own lifetime, not just when we leave the body. Science has shown that all the atoms, the electrons, all the cells, right, are replaced within a period of a total of between 5 to 7 years. They are completely replaced. So the body I'm in now, I'm travelling in now, it's not the same body I was travelling in 10 years ago, whatever, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm not the body. Science has also shown, and it was, I mean, it's been known spiritually, but science has also shown that we're not the brain. Because it's shown that when the body passes away, when we die, the body is still there. The brain is there, the body's there. The heart is there. What's missing? All the components are still there at that point of death. There's one thing missing that you can't see. The soul has left the body. So it's like, okay, there was a soul there. The soul was the life force. It was giving us energy. It's gone somewhere. Where's it gone? It's gone to continue its journey.
Okay.
Its journey is in comes back in another body. So what I'm saying is that when we look at the bigger picture, we go, okay, so it's continuing its journey. If it was behaving in a really atrocious way in this lifetime, how does it get away with it? It doesn't get away with it. And the same way around, if it was acting like Mother Teresa in a beautiful way, then that's accumulated there's a karmic bank account, basically, good karma and bad karma. So.
I guess for me I'm not very into those sort of beliefs at all, and I believe in cause and effect, obviously.
Well, there you go.
In our lifetime, and I like to think that things will happen to people if they deserve it, I guess.
Yes,
but it doesn't necessarily work.
But let me ask you a question. Have you not seen examples where you can say, well, how does that person get away with behaving that way, and they seem to get away with it? Have you not seen examples of that?
I would say capitalism. I don't know. There's so many issues.
I'm so relaxed. I'm going to kick my shoes off. I'm going to get comfortable on the seat.
Cross-legged here. I want to talk about spirituality.
I'm going to start going
so I've got a couple of
questions come up there.
Sonia's just said about heaps of new products, and it's trendy. Yes, very much on trend at present. And tofu is awesome. I normally get mine from the Asian supermarket. And Sonia also became vegetarian as part of a spiritual journey, and not taking another's life in regards to karma. And she's saying it's about learning lessons from past lives isn't learnt if we come back to learn it, which is sort of like an astrological belief too. So they say that you start, say, at the beginning of an astrological wheel as Aries, and then you would go along until Pisces and go back.
Really?
So
I didn't know that one.
you learn a particular thing through each thing. And look, I don't really know. I don't really believe in much more than what I'm doing in my lifetime now. But everyone can believe whatever they like, and I guess we should probably move on, otherwise this will become the spiritual hour.
Well, last Tuesday night I renamed it the Preachy Hour. It's the spiritual hour.
And then thanks, Lindsay. And
so do I, Lindsay.
And law of attraction, I think that's a pretty good one too.
Definitely.
You draw what you need, or what you maybe deserve, some would say, and necessarily good or bad. There can definitely be grey and shades of grey in between, and there's definitely reasons why people treat others in a different way. And
definitely, and again, see, I like the fact that what I like is a lot of the things that have been mentioned here, like law of attraction, right? They were known in spiritual circles for forever, basically. They've been known for a long time. But what I love about it is science is now catching up, and science is now going, we can actually prove these things. And the other day I watched just the most amazing video. It went for maybe like an hour or something, that basically had scientists coming to the conclusion that there has to be a universal consciousness, they called it, in other words, a God, controlling everything. Because when they went down through all the layers and everything and analysed it all, they went, there is no way in the world that scientifically this happened accidentally. This was all controlled, and I'm just explaining it in a couple of sentences.
Yeah.
If you watch the whole video, you go, whoa, that's pretty good. And when I see scientists doing that, confirming what's known spiritually, I go, great, we've got these two areas converging. They're actually coming together, and this is fantastic. Science actually going, we now acknowledge the energy meridians in the body that previously we didn't even know existed, sort of thing, but have been known in Chinese medicine for thousands of years. You know, we can now say that the heart has an energy field that radiates up to 12 feet out from the body. That we can measure that. We can now scientifically show what happens to energy patterns to water molecules. And you know, because we've got the equipment that can show that thought patterns on water molecules can change the structure of them. It's like, okay, a spiritual person go, whoop-de-doo, you're caught up, you know, but I'm like blown away that it's like science is proving it. This is fantastic. This is great for anyone that's on a spiritual path because it's got the backing of, a lot of people will only believe science. But science to me is almost like a religion in itself, right? And a lot of people will only believe that. So if science catches up and says, well, we've got, basically, you guys were on the spiritual path, you already knew what if they're catching up, I'm like, fine.
And you know, a lot of scientific studies, like I know you're saying that you like that because of that, why does someone come to a conclusion? Who's paid for the study? And even, you know, a lot of scientific studies are based on animal testing. So
that's
as vegans,
that's a good point, and it's a very
I know lots
sad,
of vegans who only believe science. I'm like, well, it's actually tested on animals that you have a problem with. So yeah, it's a bit of a hard one. I want to move on from the spiritual thing.
Yes, please do.
And
please
because
do.
we could debate / talk about that all night. And that's not what we're here for. We're here for the vegan hour. So let's talk more about vegan stuff. So in regards to activism, you do a lot of stuff online. And you do a lot of stuff in person.
I probably do most stuff online. Yeah.
But you also run Vegan Life. Are you still doing that?
Oh yes, yeah. Vegan Life is, which I started. It's nearly 3 years. Vegan Life has been running, and close to 800 members.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
and that, I think, to go back to our other conversation we're having before, I think things like that are really good to encourage long-term vegans and people to build a community and get that as well. So that's really awesome that you can do that.
But I just want to make a point on that. When I started it, that was part of the intention, was to, and because at the time, because I actually started running the vegan groups before Vegan Life. I was running another vegan group, and I started in about 2011. And the intention at that time was to provide a community for the vegans to come together and have meals and just feel like we're not the only vegan in the village. What is wonderful is the changes, which is one of the questions you asked at the beginning, the changes have changed. There's been so much change in just that period of time, what's that, 6 years, that it's almost like a group like Vegan Life is almost not needed anymore, or it's certainly not needed as much.
And definitely.
And I've noticed that because we've gone from a couple of years ago. I haven't explained the reason why it's not needed as much, because there's so many other vegan events and festivals and activities happening.
And places that
people to go to,
and
exactly.
Go, oh, I'm vegan too.
Exactly. So, because when I started doing the vegan events, we would go to vegetarian places because we didn't have 100% vegan places to go to, and we'd have to specify that everyone ordered vegan, of course. But now
you got vegan places?
There's so many vegan events happening that I'm actually noticing that generally in the last year or so there's actually been a drop off. We were getting to our events, we were getting about a year or two ago, we were getting the vegan lux in the park up to 60 odd people. So, constantly at least a couple of dozen, 30, 40 people. And the restaurant meals, we would get at least a couple of dozen, up to about 40 odd people. That in the last year has dropped off, and I started questioning. I thought, why? The member base has increased, why is that dropping off? And then I was getting feedback from people, they're saying, there's so many events.
Yeah, that's another thing too. People will be like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to go there, and they're like, oh, but are you going to this?
You've only got so much money to spend, you've only got so much time, and it's difficult for me to find days to put the events on. I have 2 events a month. It's difficult to find a day to put on where it doesn't clash with something else. That's a good problem to have, and I love it. I love that I call it the brave new vegan world. I love it that Vegan Life is less popular than it used to be, because it means there's so much competition. fantastic.
And let other people do some of your work.
It's great. I mean, we still have the dinners, we still have the vegan lunch in the park. People love it. We have regulars that have been coming for years. They look forward to it. There's wonderful food. It's a catch up, and then there's plenty of other events as well. So and hello Bellamore.
Other than your events that you do, what's other ways that you are active?
Well, definitely
to promote veganism
the vegan hour has been. I've had so much good feedback.
And you've been doing that 2 years.
2 years now, and
how many people have you interviewed?
We did 32 episodes last year from very humble beginnings.
Yes.
You may remember the humble beginnings. You were one of my very early guests.
Yeah, it was
probably
very good.
episode 6 or 7 or something. I used to do it from my office at home. So, and when I look at the videos then, and the lighting's really dark and
the sound, the video, yes,
oh my
definitely
God.
moved
So
up.
we've stepped up from there. So, from that. What was your question?
I was asking about what you do online.
Yes,
so you're talking about the vegan hour.
Yeah, so we've had the 30. So we've had the 32 episodes last year. This is the 33rd episode this year. Don't we look good on screen? and what I mentioned this a bit last week, last Tuesday night, because Shane actually said it was so cool that the vegan hour had been going so long. But what I love is that people like yourself will invest your time, your energy to come on the show to help promote the vegan awareness, and I love it because you've come down from Brisbane, which is fantastic, and you've come down on
grand final day as well.
I was wondering if I should go there on grand final day, and you're not even drunk, which is fantastic. No, sorry.
That's AFL grand final for those at home who don't know what I'm talking about. Richmond Tigers won against the Adelaide Crows, just so you know.
It's like ping pong or badminton,
it's not.
or any
it's the best game in the world.
Anyway, but I'm actually touched when I think about it. I'm touched that I've had people travel hours and hours to come on the show, and they're doing it of their own time. It's costing them money and time and energy to come on the show, and I'm really, really touched. And to everyone, I did the promo video which for this birthday special, which has had I think close to 900 views. And I tagged as many people as I could, the guests.
Everyone. That's always good.
I wanted to tag more, but Facebook wouldn't let me. But basically, that's as a sign of saying thanks for all the guests that have come on the show, and I'm just so touched that people would take the time to help promote the vegan cause. And the feedback from that is a lot of people saying to me, they're saying, man, the stuff you do on the show, by having the show, is really, really good. It's reaching out to a lot of people, and I honestly, I've said to people, really, is it? And they've gone, yeah. They've gone, cool. we that's that's what we get. I'm like, thank you.
It's lovely. It's humbling when you get really good feedback from people.
It's beautiful. So that's one of the, anyway, to answer your question, that's one of the things that I like to do, because it's an enjoyable thing. The live stream, I think, is an area that when I started doing it last year, Facebook had just brought in live stream, and this idea of just being able to promote veganism through live stream came up because it's much more dynamic. You're watching now live, you can ask questions, you can make comments, you can see how bad I crack jokes live, and we know how bad it is, and so it's just much more interesting than doing a static video, isn't it? It's way more interesting.
And so that also brings me to Facebook.
Yeah.
You post a hell of a lot on Facebook. Because
I'm
not on Facebook Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I'm on Facebook, and I just do what I have to get off. And sometimes when I know you've shared something that I want to share, or you linked me in something, I go looking for it. I'm like, golly gosh, how long do I have to scroll down all these quotes before I find the thing that I want? That he only posted yesterday or the day before.
I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I actually restrain myself. I know that's hard. I do find that very hard to believe. I have a folder, if you want to call it, on my computer of memes that I would love to share. That I just pick 3 or 4 at a time and share them. I have on my phone the same thing that I've downloaded. and I just go through and I go, okay, well, I haven't shared this one, I'll do this one. There is so much good stuff, whether it's vegan awareness or spiritual awareness, because I tend to concentrate on those two topics. And so I just limit it. A good friend of mine said, basically, what do you say? You should really limit it to like 2 a day or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's good. That's a good. You'd be like 2 an hour. I can do.
maybe 2 a minute. But
But like, what about the whole quality versus quantity thing? Do you really feel that every single post you do is of quality?
There is a lot that I see that I spend a lot of time online.
Yeah,
There's a lot that I see that I go, yeah, okay, that's pretty good, but I want it to be really, really good before I share it. Sometimes they're not; they're a bit average because it might be a bit thin on the ground that day, and I just want to share something. But I love it when people really resonate with the energy of it. They really get the message of it. And I know some people might find this hard to believe, but not everything I share is actually relevant to the way I think. I know a lot of people assume this, like, oh, Harry's shared that, so that must be his philosophy on that. It's like, not necessarily at all. It's something that maybe somebody finds helpful. It's something that might be just a generalized understanding of the way things should be. But for me personally, I might do things differently.
Why would you share it then?
Because, as I say, because it may be very helpful or beneficial for a lot of people. It might be something about, like, for instance, I used to be married, I'm not married now. But I will still share something that's helpful for people that are married. There's a for instance.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, okay, it's not applying to me at the moment.
Yeah.
I share stuff about, I don't have any kids, but I share stuff about parenting and kids.
Yeah.
I love hanging around kids. I have very close friends with kids, get on great with them, and I've learnt a lot from kids and a lot, just that whole dynamic. I love it. So I will share stuff about that because I know that people are going to find that beneficial in some way.
Cool.
So. And
so would you say your favourite technique or activism would be online related, or videos or memes, or
online is less threatening.
Which brings me, that's a very good segue into something.
It is, isn't it? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I worry, and I've had this conversation personally with Glenn before, Harry Bolman. I worry because I work in online stuff and social media, and I give I train people and give talks and consultations on it. And one of the things I find is that when people are spending a lot of time online and giving so much attention to that, they're not giving enough to real life.
Which is why I like to call Facebook Fakebook.
Yeah, and I'd worry about people that maybe.
And you do worry about me, dear, don't you?
I do worry about you, and that sometimes you could be putting the energy.
Yes.
Just even it doesn't have to be every day or something, but half of the day it could be no Facebook and put towards real relationships and develop them instead of these fake relationships.
The summer of 1927, I tried a real relationship.
1927, really?
Yeah, I'm older than I look.
You'd think you'd learn how to live without Facebook if you'd lived.
I like that I can just Facebook in between things. When I get a spare moment.
But
so I do
from
that,
if we were talking about spirituality before, do you think you're distracting yourself from something?
Oh, probably. Oh, my therapists would agree.
Anyway, we got completely off topic again.
Probably. But I do want to bring up a point there that I've stepped outside my comfort zone this year. Well, actually, I'll go back to when I started doing the vegan life meetups. That was a step outside my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that was and really because a lot of people assume, because they see a lot of me on Facebook and because I seem very outgoing when I'm doing my videos and all stuff like that I'm an outgoing person. And and Jean's watching. Hey Jean, how are you? And it's something that I've explained to people, even in person when I've met them, that I'm actually quite socially anxious. And they're like, you no way. It's just always the feedback.
Some people have to learn.
Always the feedback. Yeah. It's always that you would be the least most socially anxious person we know. You're going around talking to people, you're doing all that, and I'm going, yeah, you don't understand it. Study social anxiety, you'll understand. What you are seeing is me in an environment that I feel that I can handle. Doing something I feel that I can handle. You're not seeing me in the environments that I don't feel I can handle because I don't do them. So the invites I get to those ones I come up with an excuse with, or I...
Yeah, like
you know,
my birthday party one year, but anyway.
Oh, you still remember that? Okay. Yeah. But, so, yeah, so that's the situation. So,
And I understand, because I'm very sociable and I'm very outgoing, I've got a few friends like that as well, that you have to be aware.
Are your friends socially anxious but still can handle certain situations like I can?
Some people. Some people, they have to speak for a living, so they have learned to speak and to interact with people. They don't like it, they don't necessarily enjoy it, but they do it. Yeah. And because they do that for work, they don't do it on the weekends, or they just want to retreat. And introverted people are better and they get more energy from being alone, whereas extroverted people can get more energy from being around people.
That's true.
And my friend, like some of my friends, I will only ever see if it's one-on-one with me going to their house.
Right.
That's it. And you just it's just getting to know people.
I'd have to say though that I've learnt to understand that I, in some situations, can enjoy being around people and getting the energy from it. Right? Like tomorrow, I'll be at Love Child vegan markets at Mermaid, right? Which you're welcome to come along, because if you're here on the coast, I'd love to see you there. Yeah. And I actually get a buzz out of it because I feel quite comfortable because it's a small environment, it's a controlled environment. Control is very important for a socially anxious person. They have to have escape routes basically. So that's good. Outdoors is good for me personally. Outdoors is great. Enclosed spaces I have a big challenge with.
It's a threat, isn't it?
It is. So
and you're around
and I know so many of the people that come along. I know, and I'm pretty relaxed. I'm a little bit stressed when I first get there, and even to the point I'm a little bit shaky when I first get there. But I cover it. People won't really know, and so I use my strategies. I'll go there at the beginning. It's for me personally, one of my challenges is to walk into a room with, in fact, I won't even do it. A room that's already got people in it. It's like, no.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. Forget it. Not even in the cinema where it's darkened. It's like even in the cinema, I will go in there first or not go in at all. It's just no, because that being in front of people thing is just a fear that's like I don't want to go there. And
Michael says hi and he's saying happy birthday, and it's Harry's birthday on Wednesday.
Oh, is it my birthday?
Mine 4th of December, just so everyone knows. That's
all right. We'll have you back on the show then. Is it my birthday on Wednesday? Wow,
yeah, you told me anyway.
I know. That's cool. That must be why we call it the birthday special.
Is it? Yeah. But I just want to say thanks for sharing that.
What?
Well, you just shared about the social anxiety stuff.
Yeah, well, I have shared a bit of it on my bicycle live streams. Never talk about too much on the video now, but tonight I feel like I'm just sort of letting loose, not being the host.
Yeah, it's good. And I'd like to encourage other people to talk about their feelings too, in particular men.
I just want to say too, because really, it's one of those things where I didn't know I had social anxiety, and I've been like my entire adult life figuring that I was just really, really shy, basically, and not understand, and really kept to myself. What you see of me now here is a complete different person to what you would have seen of me 5 years ago, right? Really, where I really essentially went to work, went home, kept to myself, and that was it. Went down the shops late at night when nobody was around, that sort of thing.
Wow.
So I've come out of my shell a huge long way. To be doing activism, to actually be doing Cube of Truth, to be talking to the public like I've been doing a few times, that it was really challenging myself to do it. And I had so much beautiful positive feedback from the people I was working with that I really felt empowered to be able to continue to do it. So that's really nice. But what I want to say is that in the year 2000, I was reading a Reader's Digest article, and it was the first time I'd ever come across a thing called social anxiety. I read this story, I got to the end of it, I went, damn it, that's what I've got. And rather than just self-assess, I actually found a lady in Brisbane who, I don't know if she's there anymore, but basically she was a social anxiety expert. She'd had it herself, she'd worked on herself, and I went up and I did a series of tests with her, like psychological tests and whatever. Big long sheets, filled out or answered all the questions. Got to the end of that, I think it was, maybe she did it straight away or something, I think, and she basically, assessed it straight away and she said, you've definitely got social anxiety, and you've also got clinical depression, which I didn't even realise at the time that I had.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself clinically depressed now, but that's a whole different subject. I consider I do have
You've
ups
worked
and
on
downs.
that, though.
I work on that daily.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so but
Yeah.
so the thing was, knowing that there was a name to what I was experiencing, and this is why I'm sharing this now, for anyone else that's experiencing it, was very empowering. It then meant, what's the next step? How do I work on this? How can I work on this? Because it depresses me. You know, I don't want to be this way all the time. You know, so and we're talking 17 years ago.
Yeah.
So maybe the growth seems a little bit slow since then, but really, basically, I started doing. The next week, I started working with that lady doing what's called CBT, which is cognitive behaviour therapy, which is very, very quickly, it basically is just reframing the way you think. So a person...
Is that like NLP or neuro-linguistic programming?
There is a little bit of that element in there, yes. I know more about CBT than NLP, but yes, there is an element of that in there. So it's so that you don't have... Basically, a person in an anxious state will have very strong conditioning in their mind, their belief system, so that they will believe that in any public environment they go, it's 100% that they will be anxious. Now, CBT will approach that and change that to a more realistic thinking. So it's like, you may be anxious or you may not. You may be able to handle it or you may not. So it's reframing it, right? Since then, I've done many other techniques. I've heard from many other people, and I recommend them. I talk about Byron Katie, the works of Byron Katie, a lot because very powerful stuff, very powerful, and hypnosis and meditation, mindfulness, meditation, spiritual practice, all these yoga, these things, all these things on
and
the journey.
even what we were talking about before we started this, you know, just making conscious decisions to be in the moment and just like, okay, well, what am I feeling? And the reason I'm talking about this was I was just hanging out with one of my mates today for the grand final, and you know, he's evolved quite a lot over the time I've known him as well. And you know, I always used to tell him, just breathe, and he'd just laugh at me or be silly. And he said to me recently, it's really helped me, and he's been mindful. And like what we're talking about, it's conscious. Instead of reacting to something, it's going, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? And dealing with it. And
And I also want to elaborate on that point, because most people do react without thinking. Most people. We live in a world where we see that. We see people get angry. Online, we see people get angry straight away, but not just online. We see road rage and all that sort of thing, right? We see people acting what I call like animals, basically. Just a reaction. Instead of...
Reactive mind.
Instead of understanding that everyone has the power to do what you're talking about doing. Everyone has the power to stop, take a breath, to think about what you're feeling. Now, it's challenging.
Definitely.
It's really, really challenging. Even today, earlier today, I was going through some stuff, some feelings that weren't particularly pleasant, and I was like, you know, what do? Do I face it, or do I run and get some vegan ice cream? You know, do I knock it on the head with something to numb it, right? Now, the worser version of that is, unfortunately, in our society, it's very common for most people, like, I don't want to think about it, I'll go and have a drink at the pub.
Drinking, alcohol, promiscuous sex.
Drugs. And it's very, very sad, because it's affecting your health so badly. And I've seen so many cases of people die at a young age, sadly, because they didn't want to face what their system was telling them. Their body was telling them there was something going on, and they didn't want to face it. So yes, it takes courage. But I think now in this year, in current times, I'll say in 2017, there is so much online help. There's Beyond Blue, or whatever it's called. There's
awesome.
There's the 7 Cups website you can go to and chat for free to counsellors if you're having difficulty processing what you're feeling. You can do the works of Byron Katie for free. You can go and do it for free. You know, this is fantastic. There's lots of apps. There's meditation apps. I use Insight Timer now. And a big shout out to my wonderful, beautiful friend Yana, who put me onto Insight Timer, because I use that daily, and it is the biggest meditation app in the world, and it is fantastic. Another big thing is yoga. I challenged myself last year to start doing yoga, and I've hung around yoga teachers.
Yeah.
I've had girlfriends that were yoga
Yeah.
teachers. I've hung around them for years and never did it.
Wow.
Never did it. And
What
then
sort of boyfriend were you?
It's,
Should be doing the yoga
and
with them.
I know it's bizarre, isn't it? And I challenged myself last year, and I was really putting myself. I was quite nervous to go to a yoga class, despite the fact it was with my good friend. But I said I want to do this, and it's amazing.
I love yoga.
It's amazing, isn't it? And you don't know until
Pilates is my thing nowadays.
I must try Pilates. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's just, you don't know until you do it because it's so subtle, but it's having such a big effect on you.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
I did yoga just in, I was in this place called South Tyrol in northern Italy just recently on my trips, and we did beautiful yoga on this Lake Montigolo, and we're just on this wooden sort of surface, and I was looking up at the clouds. They were speaking in German or Italian, so I didn't really know what was happening most of the time, but I'm like, wow, those clouds are nice, and just doing what I could, and it was just beautiful.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
You painted a very nice picture there.
It's beautiful. Italy was gorgeous,
and
actually.
Rob made a comment earlier. He said, "Hey Harry, you were doing great," and thank you for that acknowledgement, Rob.
Yeah,
because
you're doing well.
there is a process called, I'd done a couple of group workshops a couple of years ago, and there's a process called the honouring process. And
what does that mean?
It's basically doing what Rob's done, but in person. So it's honouring the person for who they are, which is an unconditionally loved child of the universe, basically. And it can be quite challenging because a lot of us, we really don't feel that we love ourselves or that we're worthy of it. And the proof of that is in the relationships that we choose and the friends that we have and the way that we treat ourselves, right? That's the evidence of it. That's the outward reflection of it. And when you do a group workshop, usually at the end, or the workshops I was doing, there's this honouring process. I was doing it in a group of about 12 people, which I found very challenging at first, extremely challenging. And I had to work through those challenges as well. That's a whole different thing. But the honouring process is, at the end, you're sitting on a seat in front of the dozen or so people, and each of them is saying one or two things about you that are beautiful things that they noticed about you during that day. And it's very interesting to see whether you can actually accept that praise and that love, because a lot of people are so programmed, so against themselves, that is a foreign thing to them. And so, and my beautiful friend Yana says yoga rocks. Thank you, Yana, and you rock too. A big shout out to you. And that honouring process, because a lot of people are just so and that conditioning can happen at a young age. Your parents telling you that you're worthless, you're useless, and all that. It's just, it's a sad reality that a lot of us have been through. And so we don't feel that we are valuable at all. And unfortunately, we live a life at that level, right? So anyway, the honouring process is very, very powerful. It's very challenging. And after you've done it a couple of times, you actually reach a point where you're really accepting it. You feel you're worthy of it.
Good.
So it's a beautiful process to go through. And I see it in the world around. I see a lot of people that don't feel they're worthy of the fact that the universe actually loves you unconditionally. So if the universe loves you unconditionally, why the hell aren't you doing it? Why aren't you allowing that in? Why are you saying, no, I'm only worth this much? The universe thinks you are the most amazing thing. The universe thinks every single living being is the most beautiful, loving creature on,
maybe except for the ones that polluted and cut down the trees and kill the animals. What about that bit?
Well, I was going to say love the sinner, not the sin. Okay, we don't accept their behaviour, but we're unconditionally loved. There's nothing we can do or say that makes it so that that we are not unconditionally loved, which is a beautiful thing. Yeah,
that's a nice thing to.
It's a beautiful thing to know. There's a comment there from Morella.
From Saudi Arabia. Hi.
From Saudi Arabia. I even pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, great. I'm glad it's resonating with you, the spiritual stuff.
Is that all you read? That comment was longer than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, we don't have to read every single word of every comment.
There's a reason why I do, because YouTube, they don't get to see what we're reading, you see.
True.
So that's, but anyway, basically the comment was saying that thanks for being so inspirational, especially love today's program. Thank you for your feedback, Morella. I love it. I love your feedback, and the way I'm talking now is normally how I talk when I'm doing my bicycle live streams, because it's more about the spiritual elements, but also the vegan elements, but coming more from a different area. When I host the vegan hour, it's obviously more about the guest, and
now it's about you.
Yeah. So this is me talking about the things that are important to me.
So
we're gonna have to wind it up soon too.
Do you? Okay, I wanted to ask, of all the guests that you've had, other than me, obviously.
Yeah,
who's your favourite? Who's the favourite guest you've had?
You're the top 5, right? Okay. Mr. Charm. You're the top 5. I've actually thought about this. Who's my favourite? And I can't put a favourite, because when I've had the likes of people that I'm listening to here in this room, James Aspey, and I'm just in awe of how he can answer any question and be so inspiring. Billy Simmons, again, I was in awe of just his presence and his power.
Awesome.
Oh, just amazing. The enthusiasm of someone like Chrissy Carvello, and how she keeps so fit, and that, you know,
so focused,
and so focused on a program that just takes so many hours a day to be that fit. You know, it's a big comment coming there from Louise. So everyone contributes something.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're contributing it because they made a decision to be compassionate, and so that speaks total volume. You know, so it doesn't matter. So you don't have to be a James Aspey. You don't have to be known to anyone. But you are known because you made a decision in your heart to be ethical. You are known on a universal level for making the right, decision. So that's all that matters. And if you can project that in the way that James Aspey or Billy Simmons or that can, fantastic. But actually, another point I want to make there is if you can't, by all means, find your avenue that works for you, and maybe your avenue that works for you is to actually get behind these people that are doing so amazing and support them. Share their stuff, comment on their stuff, and make other people aware of them, because they are reaching out in a way that.
Which you do a lot.
Yeah, because I think, James Aspey, amazing. Let's push him as hard as possible, because he's just amazing, and Billy Simmons going through the schools with his
compassion strength and kindness.
Strength and kindness to it. It's like, let's get behind him. He's doing fantastic stuff. Let's not try and copy it. Let's support the power that's already there.
And there's
that
heaps
seems
of
like
females in the movement too.
Of course,
also.
of course. And again, wonderful, when I had Renee on from Anonymous for the Voiceless, and I was just so amazed by what she's doing with the activism. And so the next week I went along and did it with the crew, and I was like, this is great. I love this sort of activism.
Yeah, that's great.
So, did you want to read?
And I was just going to say, Louise mentioned about what we were talking about, anxiety, and that it was very important to talk about, especially for males. And she's got some friends that struggle with that. So and to know they're not the only people. So
that's another thing. It's hard for males to open up because of this false. I have a real big issue with the false bravado of males. As a male, as a spirit soul in a male body, I've seen it so much, and it just I can't put into words how frustrated I get to see men acting that way. It's like
that's conditioning.
I know, but it's on so many different levels. It's sad to see them acting that way. It's destroying their health. They're ending up with ulcers and heart attacks, and they won't even go to the doctor because, I'm big and tough and all the rest. They die of a heart attack in their 40s or something because they never looked after themselves. That is so not needed. And still, I know it still goes on. I think there's more awareness of it now, definitely more awareness, and there's more men that can open up. And one of the most amazing things that I love, that I find empowering, is to see a guy who's a big guy, like a physically, like a Billy Simmons sort of big guy, open up.
Yeah.
The traditional big, you know, I'm a, you know, bloke sort of thing, open up and be emotional.
Definitely.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I did.
Well, he's being himself, isn't he? He's speaking his truth.
But even more so, though, I was going to bring up an instance at Landmark Forum when I did Landmark Forum. Are you familiar? No. You would have heard of Landmark Forum?
I've heard of it. Maybe
that was about over 100 people doing a 3-day group workshop.
Is it a spiritual awakening?
No, it would be hard to describe Landmark Forum.
Yeah.
Be very hard.
I think
but
I know people.
I went to the one in Brisbane a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I never put my hand up and asked a question once, never once anything. But I went along and I sat there.
And most people are meant to ask questions.
Most people went up on stage.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, at the end of when people go back or something the week later or something for the whatever you call it, the closing ceremony or whatever, I don't know what it is. One guy went up on stage. He was a bodybuilder. He was huge. He was so grateful for what he'd learnt in the opening up that he was crying on stage, and I felt an empowerment seeing a big guy just express his emotions. It was like I wanted to go up and hug the guy and say, "Good on you!
Yeah.
You didn't have to be a blokey bloke," and he wasn't afraid to show it.
Yeah,
he was thanking everybody. He was crying.
I think we see it more nowadays, actually. Yeah.
You do see it. You do see it more nowadays, but unfortunately, we still have pubs full of guys, mainly guys, who are not facing what's going on inside and are killing themselves, and it's really sad.
Definitely. What guest do you want to interview? If you could interview anyone in the whole world, whether they're living or dead, who would you want to?
Straight away, I thought of Philip Wallen. I'd like to get Philip Wallen on the show. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
It's been suggested.
Yeah,
and
next time he's up here.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe you can keep an ear out for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you've got your contacts.
Have all the contacts.
You have all the contacts. You definitely. Philip Wallen. Joey Carpstrong.
Yeah, Joey.
Joey,
yeah.
I'd like to. Joey.
He'd do it, definitely.
Joey, you've got to come on, Joey, and Philip Wallen. If you ever do get to see this live stream or the YouTube one, I would love to have you sitting where I'm sitting here now, and I'll be sitting back there because I would be just honoured.
Cool.
And that's what I wanted to say earlier. I'm honoured by all the wonderful guests that have come on in the last 2 years. We've got some more wonderful guests coming up for the rest of this year as well.
And next week for episode 34.
Drank too much water.
October the 3rd, we've got Brad King from Farm Animal Rescue.
Yes, Brad.
So he's going to be joining Harry next week, and Harry will host the show again. We'll be back to normal.
I hope that people have enjoyed us doing it on a Saturday night. And
a bit different.
A bit different, yes.
We have to go out now.
And do we?
Well, you don't have to.
Where are we going, mate? Oh, not that going out. Okay, right.
So I'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight and joining in on the conversation at the Vegan Hour 2017 birthday special.
Yeah, she's good.
And I'm Lee Chantel. You can see me at vivalavegan.net and come to some of the Vegetarian Vegan Society events.
Would you like to do a shout out? There's one coming up next.
Yeah,
month.
we've got a few coming out, but I can't really remember the dates at the moment. So
you'll have to put them.
Yeah, they'll be on the
there.
Facebook page and the events page.
Yeah, I always share the VBSQ.
Good. And if you go to the Vegan Australia website.org, they have all the events from all over the world, all over Australia there. And also, if anyone's in Canberra or near Canberra tomorrow, Living Green Festival. Check that out. It's always one of my favourites.
I also want to say that I am really honoured that you hosted the show tonight.
Good,
20-year vegan veteran, president of the VBSQ, and also Viva La Vegan for 10 years. I'm very honoured that you came down and hosted the show. So
thank you. Thanks for asking me. It's been a pleasure to celebrate your achievements with this, and hopefully there's many more. And if you know of someone that Harry could interview in the future,
because actually I do get thank you for saying that, because I actually do get some wonderful suggestions from people that say, you've got to talk to so and so, and so I do find some guests that way. And also I just also want to mention again, tomorrow if you're on the Gold Coast from 10 a.m, come along to Love Child Vegan Markets.
And there's that Froth Fest.
And yes, let's do a shout out for Froth Fest following Sunday. Froth Fest, you'll see the sign up there. We had the show on Tuesday night all about it. The $10 tickets are supporting Sugarshine Farm Sanctuary at Lismore and Sabre Cow at Mullaney, and you can win 4 nights accommodation at Angourie Resort just down over the border, worth $1,000, and you can win a surfboard, you can win bikinis, which are sitting just over there, and I'm not going to mind one.
And many more prizes.
And many more prizes, and there's going to be raffles during the day as well. So,
Cool.
yeah. So
we're going to wind it up. Thanks. Happy birthday for the vegan hour, and happy birthday for Wednesday. And everyone, look after yourselves. Be kind to each other. And if you've learned something tonight, make sure you share it with someone else.
Good advice. Good advice.
Take care. I'm Lee Chantel. This is Harry Bolman. Good night.
Live vegan and save lives. Ahimsa.